discussion really, I say collectively for you and for me to challenge ideas and to really kind of think in a new way. So I'm curious, and I'm sure, I mean, I'm talking to experts here that consult all the time, but do you know what the leading cause of stress is for 65% of the employees in the workforce today? What would you guess is the leading cause of stress for more than half of the people out there?
Is it burnout?
Yeah, it's just work. Like work causes people the most amount of stress. And yes, so because it's so stressful, yes, there is burnout, and other causes. This is all cited by Gallup and APA, is just an unsupportive work environment, feeling like you don't have the support of your supervisors. Yes, the constant change of priorities because, yeah, because so much is changing so rapidly. Poor communication, unclear job expectations, and I think AI is just bringing a whole new wave of that as people try to implement, AI to do things better, more efficiently, or, smarter. It just creates a lot of uncertainty. And in the end, people start to feel, not valued. So I guess just I'd love to pause just for a moment because, like, the topic today is a framework that I'm going to share with you just through publishing the sixth level with three other co-authors and kind of my own discovery journey of, how do we correct this? How do we make employees feel heard, valued, engaged? Like, and I wish myself that when I was running HR for 24 years and organizational services in my own family business, that somebody would have said, Rachel, follow this roadmap and this will get you to, creating a culture that no one wants to leave. But now I'm excited because I feel like I have an answer to this. But before I go into my sharing and my thoughts, I just like to hear from you and just see, like, in, with your own clients, with the companies that you work for now, does this ring true? And if it does, like, just give me a little bit more insight to an anecdote or what's happening that has been hard to solve in your world.
So this is Nikki. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah. Hey, Nikki.
Okay.
And go ahead and say
Hey.
a little bit more about yourself because you weren't on camera, so I didn't know if you were available to
Oh,
talk to you.
yeah.
But yeah, do a
Well,
little
thank
intro
you.
too.
So I've heard a lot of international stuff. So I've lived 14 years internationally. I did Peace Corps in Ukraine for 2 years and stayed on for another 7 years, Azerbaijan for three, and then in Ulm, Germany, just very near Stuttgart for 3 years. So I love all the international agency that's online here. But right now, I retired from WashU in 2018. I'm now a health insurance broker. I kind of it was serendipitous, but it's amazing. And with regard to, and so I do Medicare under 65. I do individual, but I work with Arch Brokerage. I'm a 1099, but I affiliate with them. We also do group. And what I'm seeing is more people leaving corporate to either do their own or own kind of thing, starting their own businesses, or just retiring early because they can't stand another minute of it, just because of the culture. It's toxic for many, many people.
Wow, so much to unpack there. But thank you for sharing all those specifics because I saw some things in the chat and obviously, yeah, lots of people related to your background. And I know, yeah, I was a graduate of WashU and still do stuff there. So I know everybody wants to continue these conversations after, which is the whole point for us to get to know each other and make these connections and, continue on these conversations. But thank you for sharing that because, Yes, definitely. There's a world of people retiring early, or even possibly on this call, those of us that worked for corporate for many years and now started our own, consulting firms just to, try to figure out how to turn this tide of toxic work environment around. Yes, and Susan, tell me you're Duff, right? Susan Duff. Okay, go ahead. You had something to say before I want to hear your thoughts too on this work environment.
Let me think. I didn't have anything to say, but I'm currently one of my clients right now is I'm working with a hospital system in another state, um, looking at their patient satisfaction scores from a service perspective. And we're starting to do some work with the really front facing people that register. So patient registration at the hospital, medical office assistants in the physician clinics, telephone operators. So those very front facing, either phone or in person folks. And I'm looking at metrics right now on the patient feedback side, but I've also got employee satisfaction survey results from each of those groups. And those have some very interesting, dynamics. So some people are going to have challenges. They want training in their area of specialty. Some people are not happy with their supervisor, so there's a whole host of all kinds of things depending upon the group.
All right. Well, I know you and I did not know each other before this call, but it's funny and coincidental that the story I'm going to tell to illustrate what the sixth level is, I'm going to tell the story of Lisa Lochner. She's my first cousin, but she's also a contributor in the book, and she runs a hospital. So everything that you just said is going to be part of the story that I share with you all. So. Yeah, so I'm excited to jump in. I'm going to share my screen a little bit just to make the information a little bit more clear. But
And
we are
welcome,
talking.
Brenda. I'm going to just keep and adding more people as they come to, just
Oh,
so you
yeah,
know.
definitely. Yes, yes, yes. And for any new people that came in, I said this is just an open conversation, but the topic today is a framework for purpose-driven leadership in a disengaged world. So I'm going to jump into the sixth level, which I'm so excited to share because it is a roadmap that has been proven, that's based in research, that will create the conditions, the healthy conditions within a culture to have them thrive. So, um, okay, another statistic. I already said that 65% of the people feel that work is their biggest stressor, and we just talked about several examples. But what percent did Gallup report that employees felt the organization didn't care about their well-being? Anybody want to throw out a number, percentage that employees felt their organization didn't care about their well-being? Okay, Susan, you're off mute. You're going to be my little helper today. What?
Put my
Throw out
mute back on.
yeah, turn out.
Um,
What percent would you just guess? One guess.
I'm gonna guess 60%.
Okay. Yeah, we're coming in at 78% from a
Wow.
poll last year. And so, I mean, the question is like, why is this number so high? Like, why are people retiring? Why are people getting out? And I believe that it is because we are in a new era. So let's think about that just for a minute. And when I say error, I don't mean ERROR, I mean ERA. So many years and a lot of our work, I don't know. Oh, Jennifer, can you mute Brenda Smith just because I think there's feedback? Thanks. Um, So the era of a lot of our work practices in and mostly our mindsets were formed in the industrial age. So at the time where there's machines and there's tons of manual labor and you're being told what to do and it's the assembly lines, it's the standard operating procedures, it's the standard way of doing things where people are told what to do and there was a lot of hierarchy. And then we moved to, this information age, the digital age, which was truly all about being more productive, doing more with less, and having all of this information at our fingertips. But now I believe there is this seismic shift, and it's twofold. One, people do not want to be told what to do, and we are in the age of AI. So what do we call this era that we're in? I believe it's called the human potential era. And I was just talking to a founder of an AI organization, Erica Ishida, and she is the one, so I'm, stealing her words of human potential era, but it makes so much sense. And it, like so many other things, it dovetails right into what, my lens of the sixth level. And the thing with the sixth level is that the sixth level is based on women's social psychology. So when I start going through some of the research and key concepts, I feel like all of you women on this call are going to totally resonate with it because it's the way women are socialized. Women are socialized to care. And the key point here is that women need to be in front of this new era because we bring the emotional intelligence, we bring ethics, creativity, and if we can figure out how to embrace AI while also allowing the humans to have voices, to feel connected, to help shape the world as we know it going forward, then collectively we will have real world impact. We cannot bring in AI to replace humans or think that we're going to have a change management process that does not involve humans, but it's about repurposing and realigning to what is needed most today. So let's talk about a little bit about what the sixth level is. So I like to say the sixth level is three basic things. It's simple, it's powerful, and it's deeply human. And I feel that the deeply human part and the connection and the relationships is really what we've missed out on as we've gone through the Industrial Revolution and the information age. The technology has brought a lot, but it has also caused us to be polarized and disconnected with each other. And it's like the saying that the best things that you learn in your life, you learn in kindergarten. You learn how to say please and thank you and push in a chair. But I think also like we have forgotten those basic skills about how to connect with each other and how to be in relationship with each other. So we called it the sixth level because like I grew up and graduated from Cuba High School, which is about, 60 miles southwest of St. Louis. And I said, even in Cuba High School, we learned about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And so we all know that the fifth level is self-actualization, your own full potential, which every leader needs to rise to their own self-awareness of their own gifts that they have as a leader. But the sixth level goes beyond your own full potential, not as an individual leader, but the sixth level, based in research, is a psychological theory written by a female back in the 70s, Dr. Jean Baker Miller, and it is called self in relation. So the sixth level goes beyond self-actualization, and it is yourself in relation with others. So why is this more adaptable for women? Why do men exhibit this too? It just is a little bit more natural for women. And that is because, and when I show these graphs and things, this is all, in the book if you're interested in learning more or, more about the research. But essentially, the nutshell is that women, when we are born, so from birth to how we're socialized as children up to maturity and death, women are told to and encouraged to seek connection, and we're encouraged to express our own emotions. And we are all on a track towards ethic of care because we're taking care of children and families and parents. Men are socialized to seek separation, to restrict their emotions and be the strong person and be the person in charge, and ultimately to fear the feminine. And so this creates this gap. And what it happens in leadership is that we need to close this gap, that we need to come together but move. The essence is to move from a command and control, a dominant way of leading to an ethic of care way of leading. So this is the guts of the sixth level. And this is what the story I'm going to share with you. I say that it's simple. The sixth level is simple because there are only 4 core differentiators. So when you put these 4 pillars, you stick them like in the ground, like on your house, if you were building a house, these are the foundational pillars that need to be there in order to create the flywheel. And we're going to talk more about getting the flywheel going. And these are core principles. So they're big umbrella items, big umbrella ideas. But as I go through Lisa's story about the hospital, I hope that you start to see how mutuality and justness and ingenuity and intrinsic motivation come to life within a workplace. And we call this the X factor here because at the bottom, women tend to do this naturally, multitasking, thinking about the empathetic with the analytic, like how can we fix this problem? How can we work out the solution? And we toggle in between these two psychological thought processes, constantly every day. It's a muscle. So men can do it as well as females. It's just females, based on our socialization, are more adept at doing it. So we tend to do it a little bit better and be back and forth. So what I hope that we walk away with at the end of this is that you feel like, oh my God, I totally lead with these 4 principles. But when I was doing this with one of my co-authors for a board meeting in New York, one of the ladies was there from Merck, and she's like, oh my God, I just had a performance appraisal and I lead in this way, but I never had the words for it. So I wasn't getting credit. Now I have the words and I can say I lead at the 6th level. I do these 4 things. And not only can I get credit for it, but I can teach it. So that's what I hope to impart to you in the time that we have on this call. So when I was at my family business, running organizational services is what we called it. I started in 93. We did a major acquisition. We doubled the number of employees from 250 to 500 in our turnover, and we are in the convenience store business. Our turnover was over 200%. It was awful. We couldn't keep enough people. The door was constantly revolving. So I worked the next 7 years to put in, infrastructure, HR infrastructure. And ultimately, by 10 years later, by the year 2005, I had turnover down for our organization to 60%. But my goal was 30%. And so I read the book Good to Great. I don't know if everybody else, I know I'm aging myself and dating myself, but I love Jim Collins' book. I like The Hedgehog. I like The Right People on the Bus. But what really intrigued me was this whole idea of a flywheel, because I thought, God, how do we get that flywheel started? And the number one problem with Good to Great is Jim Collins did not tell us how. So I go back to the 6th level, 4 easy steps to create this culture. Okay. So we talked about these 4 core differentiators, and this is the secret sauce. And when you put all 4 in place in your organization, you will be operating at the 6th level. And so if you get the book, there's 16 women's executive stories in the book that highlight multiple ways. Because I said that getting to mutuality as a principle, there are so many tactics you can use. So I'm going to share the tactics that Lisa did at the hospital. But if these tactics at the hospital setting don't really relate to you, you can get the book and read, you know, 5 other stories on how different women in different industries at different size organizations built mutuality in their companies. So I'm going to start with Lisa. She became president of the hospital in Sullivan, where I live, in the year 2021, so 5 years ago. And when she took over, obviously 2021, it was on the heels of COVID. And so you can imagine the despair that the nurses were in, the staff. I mean, it wasn't only the protective equipment that they had to wear, they were just isolated and they were mentally and physically exhausted. They were exhausted from covering for each other's shifts, but also in our, small community, over 300 people had died from COVID. So they're burying their friends, their family. And so you could just say morale was in the toilet. And there was just no fabric, no binding fabric to the team. So people were operating in silos. And so I guess, like in a hospital setting, you could say that the hospital was in need of CPR. So what did Lisa do to turn this ship around? Okay. She had worked at this hospital for 27 years before she became the president. And she knew how talented the team was. She knew the caring souls of the team that she had worked with and been a peer until she became, president. And she knew that the work environment could be fulfilling for all the team members. And she truly cared about these 300 team members in the hospital being able to thrive and being able to not only thrive for themselves as individuals, but also thrive for the community. And she wanted this rural hospital to be successful because out here we don't have all the access to care. So she had intrinsic motivation. And intrinsic motivation is obviously not about getting a bonus, not about being recognized in the community or having the title of president. She had this deep desire to have the environment be better. And I believe in every organization and probably in each one of us, we could share a story about intrinsic motivation. How we in our experience in our careers have been compelled to do the right thing, to make it better, not for ourselves, but for the people around us. And I know, when I'm talking to a live group of women and I can see all your faces and, your heads nod, I think this really relates to women because when you think about, if you have children or nieces and nephews or taking care of parents, I mean, women are always doing more. We're on, the volunteering for the PTA club or whatever the names are today, but we're raising kids, we're working, we're helping out, we're doing birthday parties, we're buying gifts. I mean, I don't need to tell all of you women, the list goes on and on and on. And that's intrinsic motivation. Because why do we do that? It's not because we're getting a paycheck for more than half of that stuff that we do. We do it because we care. We do it because we know it matters. So that's intrinsic motivation. That's what Lisa had. And the other key piece of intrinsic motivation, and Lisa and I, we talk about this a lot, is that you, as the intrinsic motivated person, you have a vision of what it could be like. And not everyone can see the forest through the trees. So it's not only your passion, it's not only your willingness to go beyond, it's not only your willingness to set an example. It is because you truly believe it because you can see it and there's a pathway to get there. Okay, intrinsic motivation. Then what did Lisa do? She started to build mutuality. And she built mutuality by listening sessions. And these listening sessions happened in multiple ways, multiple tactics to start listening. Okay, so when it came to her management team, then not only did she talk to them about what was going on with them one on one, but when she wanted to really have a deep conversation and really unpack the morale issues that were happening, she invited them to her home. She fed them. It was a confidential, it was a personal environment. And she was vulnerable and she asked everybody else to be vulnerable. What did she do for the front line? So, she does rounding. She's still 5 years later to this day, she consistently does her rounding. Her rounding is her ingenious idea, which we'll get to ingenuity because all of these thread through these four core differentiate, all this threads together. But she decided when she was going to round, she was going to push a snack cart to whatever floor she was visiting, the emergency, department, the radiology department, every department in the hospital. So here she comes. She loaded up the snack cart. She went to whatever department she was going to. She fed the person and said, while you nourish your body, can I ask you a few questions? So it's the example that she cared for that person she was talking to by feeding them something, but also, in a humane way, asking for their input. And then it came to her that she felt she needed something to bond the team together. So she got this from somebody else. I can't remember if it was a podcast or a book, but she created the mantra of one team, one heart. And it just spoke to her. And when she started introducing this one team, one heart, it was a mantra. Today, 5 years later, that mantra has turned into the culture. It is the litmus test that people hold each other to today. But it started out as a mantra. Like, do we think that we can do this? It was in, and when somebody didn't behave as one team, now I'm not just talking like one team, like your finance team or the radiology team. One team was the hospital team. And when someone didn't behave in one team, that's when she had individual conversations. If it wasn't her direct report, it was with that manager, the supervisor of that person to say, did you see this behavior? Did you think that that was one team? This is what I'm thinking one team is. Could you go back and have a coaching conversation? Because everyone is in a specific mindset. They're used to doing what they're used to doing. And so such a big part of this is redirecting and accountability, which is part of the justness circle, the principle that we're going to get to. Okay. In the end, mutuality, when you have it in your organization, it feels like belonging. It feels that someone has your back and it feels like you are cared for. So remember, 78% of the employees, according to Gallup out there, do not believe their organizations care for them. When you have mutuality, you feel cared for. Okay, so I do want you to think to yourselves and think about how are you creating mutuality? You can create mutuality in your own family. You can create mutuality on a not-for-profit board you operate in. It is about building the connection and the relationships. It is two-way empathy. You learn and you see each other through each other's eyes and you grow because of that mutuality. Okay. Third core differentiator is justness. Okay, in 2023, sorry, I don't have new data on this. Gallup reported that only 23% of the employees agreed that they trust the leadership in their organization. Only 23%. Justness is such a pivotal and essential principle relative to culture. 37%, and it's probably higher, but this is what Gallup reports, will leave their jobs when justness is missing. Justness is the principle. It is about transparency. It's about being open book. It's about having accountability. It's about walking the talk. It's about, like Lisa says all the time, like, I don't do anything that, I don't ask anyone to do anything that I'm not willing to do myself. If I hold myself, like another thing she did was she shadowed every single department when she became president. And then what happened? Other people started shadowing their own departments, because people learn through the actions of others. And so justness is about walking the talk. It's about hearing all the voices within the organization. But when all these little tactics happen, at the end of the day, you can measure justness by the trust you have built within your team. So Lisa, like justness, I think is the hardest. And Lisa had a lot of work to do in this hospital setting to redirect people. So when she, after the year of the mantra, and then she got actually had a process for getting people to buy into the one team, one heart. Then, okay, so she would tell me an example that, each week she has a leadership meeting. And when she would get into these meetings early on, there would be things on the agenda. And I remember this one story where, the operations person was doing something new, implementing something new, but they had not communicated ahead of this meeting to the finance person. And it was like it threw the finance person off. There was really no reason for the operations person to not have communicated this ahead of time. So what did she have to do? She had to first go talk to that operations person and say, when did you talk to the finance person? I feel like the finance person actually didn't know that this was going to be on the agenda. And when the operations person said, I didn't, I just thought we would just talk about it here. She said, no, that's not one heart, one team. One team and one heart is that person has a heads up because they're on the team relative to presenting this specific topic. So it takes constant work to redirect people's way of thinking and to help them build connection because not everybody gets it and not everyone has had the example. If everybody had the example, then we wouldn't have 78% of the people, saying that that the work environment is terrible. So justness takes a lot, but when justness is in place, I like to say it is the oil that gets the flywheel spinning. So I just want to pause there for a moment because now we've covered 3 of the 4 core principles: intrinsic motivation. I'll stop for a sec. Mutuality, and just hit on justness. And before we go into ingenuity and what happens when the flywheel starts, I'm just going to pause and open it up and just see if if any of it resonated or any thoughts that anybody wants to share just for a few minutes. Open up the conversation.
Hey, my name's Dave Marks. I always got something to say. Um, I think, so I'm an employer, I have employees. I recently met Jennifer and I think what really resonated with me because I was listening to a lot of this, and I think it's like you can't forget what it's like to be an employee, and I think for me, a lot of it is the places I worked at, I learned I saw what not to do. And I think one of the best ways I found to keep employees engaged is when they come up with an idea and it half-ass makes sense, implement it. I had an employer that would ask me ideas or ask me opinions, and then he would never implement anything. And it got to the point where don't waste our time asking me when you're not going to do anything.
Yeah,
You,
I totally agree. Yeah, thank you for sharing those 2 examples because okay, so I'm going to take your idea and build on it a step further with so you have an employee that has this idea. Yeah, if it half-ass makes sense, figure out a way, but also, bring that idea to the table, teach people how to have healthy debate, teach people to build on someone else's idea. So makes sense and you get the buy-in, because when you have the buy-in, it's so much easier to implement, and you're also exhibiting this skill that it's great to brainstorm, it's great to have ideas.
Hmm.
And I think, another thing that Lisa and I talk about relative to justness is it's equally okay to talk about the things that didn't go right as well as the things that did, because we're all on this learning journey together. And when you can involve all your employees, as many of your employees as possible, whenever it makes sense, the more ideas you can bring into the fold and have conversations about, the more buy-in you will get, and then ultimately the more input that you will get. And that's going to take us right into ingenuity, but I'm going to pause again in case anybody else has another thing that resonated or story to share based on what. Yeah.
I just got to keep going on this. So, what I've learned too is if they present an idea, it's important to tell them why it won't work.
Yes.
Because more often than not, I mean, I'm just thinking of myself, if you tell them, okay, this is why, that's a great idea, I appreciate it, but this is why we can't do it, and can validate that, like back that up, they're going to go, oh, okay, that makes sense, David. Because more often than not, employees just want to know why. Like my staff will do whatever I tell them to, as long as I tell them why. And sometimes when I tell them why, they come up with a better idea. Oh, I didn't think about that. I'm really glad I told you why this. It's amazing how that works.
Yeah, and what you were saying is so important, because with AI, everyone is going to have to give input to why or why not things are going to work, why it's a challenge, and have them understand. I mean, if AI is going to take a task away that saves them 4 hours a day because now the computer is going to figure out and spit out the report that they were manually
Oh, not
inputting
not
for
here.
8 hours, then it is important that all of that input is received, and yes, and the why behind it. And then yeah, I think
Mhm.
there's a huge opportunity with AI. I mean, because I do feel that if or I guess, what I've observed is when you can implement AI and it takes away the tasks that have taken people hours and hours, then what you can do is redirect them for more human connected things. I mean, when I was, running our synagogue for 6.5 years, like the best part of my job was picking up the phone, talking to one of our members and just saying, why do you belong here? Like, tell me why you joined and tell me why you're still here after 1 year, 5 year, 30 years. Those conversations on the phone could last like an hour because some people just wanted to share their story. I mean, what if we all had more time for the connection and the
Mm.
repurpose to find out, what do our customers really need? I mean, when was the last time we actually took a visit to our customer site, shadowed, maybe observed some of their training classes? Like, it's like people, in general, people don't have time for this stuff. But as we move forward and embrace the things that AI can take off of our plates, free up our hours, then having brainstorm ideas to repurpose that for more human-centric focused will allow the team to thrive.
Mm.
Okay. I am going to, yeah, so let me go back to okay, so we finished with justness. I feel like it is the oil. What David was saying is right. I mean, closing the communication is key, and I equate to communication with transparency, because to me, being a transparent communicator, like not having hidden agendas, access to information. I mean, we are beyond the information world. So I have observed organizations that are open book and transparent have the most success because people can make decisions. Like I equate this sometimes when I speak to like a sports game, because I think in general, everybody's been to a sporting event, and no one would go to a sporting event if they didn't know the score and they didn't know the rules. And so you think about, why would we expect that out of an organization? Like, you don't know the score, like you don't know the financials, you have no idea how well the sales are doing, you have no idea how one part interacts with another. You have no idea how the offense interacts with the defense. I mean, it seems ludicrous when you think about it relative to a sports team, but we expect, like some organizations expect that a team is going to thrive when they don't have open book and transparent information. And I think that's a mindset that needs to change moving forward. Okay. The fourth core differentiator is ingenuity. And this is the fun part. And because when you have a leader that sees the forest through the trees, has that intrinsic motivation, is driven to make it better for everyone that works in that organization, and they put in mutuality and they make sure there's justness in place. The justness was the oil that got the flywheel started. Ingenuity is when people get it. And like David said, now they're giving input. Now they're building on ideas. Now you're not even asking for ideas and trying to pull teeth to get information out of a meeting. Now people are coming and saying, well, how about if we try this? What if we do this? So Lisa said it took about 2 years, okay? Because this is not easy. This is not rose-colored glasses. Lisa and I talk all the time. Like we have energy to spend in a day. We can be spending it focused on building these four core differentiators, putting these principles in place. It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of face-to-face time, a lot of redirecting, a lot of listening. And I'm going to tell you about the amazing results that she's getting. Or we can be in the other bucket, spending our energy, having 100% turnover, having people that are quitting, not having people to replace that talent with new talent, having everybody be stressed out. We can give our energy in this bucket or this bucket, but wouldn't you rather put your energy into a bucket that's going to give something back to you? And that's what ingenuity feels like. Once these other three things were in place, ideas started coming in, and it did feel like 1+1=5. And this, the rate of change that things happen is so tremendous every day. There could be an incident at the hospital and gears have to switch, or maybe they got capital dollars, maybe they didn't. So this is a constant flowing of ideas that deal with the problems at hand that day. And ingenuity is about, it's like systems thinking. You have to be able, ingenuity represents complex problems. So these are system problems, but you're not just fixing it for one department. You're not just fixing it to make it better for one person. You are literally lifting the boat for all people in this team, the one team, one heart. So it's about everyone moving forward. Okay, so how did the flywheel happen? Once ingenuity kicked in, this is when historic records started to be broke. So the hospital was built in the 60s. The first thing that happened is they got the highest 5-star patient satisfaction rating ever. They had never, ever achieved this high of patient satisfaction rating. It was the first thing. I remember when Lisa and I walked together, she was like, so flippin' excited, like this had never happened before in their history. But then it didn't stop. They redid their engagement survey. They had the highest participation in the engagement survey and the highest score of the hospital's history. And it was more than that. I remember her telling me this story. It was about her recruitment. She told me the story how they had this risk manager position open, and they posted the position, and they actually got somebody from a hospital about an hour away that wanted to come to work for her hospital. And when she talked about one team, one heart in orientation, so Lisa's showing up in orientation, talking about what this means to their culture, 90 days after that, she talked to the same risk manager after orientation and said, I just want to do a 90-day follow-up with you. What has been your experience at the hospital so far? And this risk manager said, Lisa, I had heard about your one team, one heart, and honest to God, I thought it was cheesy. She's like, now that I have been here 90 days, this hospital is different. I do feel cared for. I know I can see the team members going out of their way to care for these patients. And as a patient of this hospital, I have observed and witnessed this myself. It is tangible when the culture is in place, when you have these four core principles, it gets the flywheel spinning in a positive direction. So, in a world today where disengagement is the norm, I believe this sixth level approach to leadership, it's an idea whose time has come. The time is now. I feel like we are all experiencing a shift from this command and control, from this toxic work environment to where their voices really aren't valued, where we are stuck in this mindset where just do what I tell you to do and it will all be all right. People don't want to be told what to do. There is no better time to put the ethic of care into the workplace as of right now. It's essential. Companies that are not using and embracing I do believe they will be left behind. When you can embrace AI and get rid of the mundane tasks that take people hours and repurpose them for human-centric connections, relationships, you will get your culture to thrive. So, with that, I just want to, thank you all for letting me talk about the sixth level and sharing basically like this accumulation of like I feel like my life's work that actually didn't get formatted into a book until this was published in November of 2023. And then Brenda was so sweet to have a Galentine's event and we got to speak on it. So I've spoken at WashU on it twice and many other places. But anyway, I know a lot of you are in the consulting world too. And so it was just a pleasure to meet you. And I know the other thing I truly believe is that we meet people for a specific reason at a specific time for a specific purpose. And so I know that we all have done that today, and I am sure I will cross paths in person with one or more of you as we move forward and look forward, to that time. And if anybody has any questions about anything about the sixth level or anything that I said, I want to respect everybody's time. I know you're on lunch breaks, but I would be happy to have coffee to set up an in-person or a virtual meeting with anyone. Thank you all. Oh, I would love to do one screenshot if you're not on camera and you would just do me the gesture of putting yourself on camera for one screenshot. That would be amazing. Oh, thank you, Charles. Suzanne, thank you. All right. All right. Thank you, guys. I appreciate that.
Awesome. Thank
All
you so much
right.
for your time today. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you, Jennifer, for the
Bye,
invite.
guys.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Great job, Rachel. Thank you.
Thanks. It was fun. I enjoyed it.